The Tomorrow War begins with a group of troops from the future traveling to the year 2022. They reveal that they are from the year 2051, when only 500,000 humans remain alive on the globe, and their numbers are rapidly falling. They are led by Lieutenant Hart, Jasmine Matthews. To save humanity from extinction, citizens from today are enlisted as soldiers in this future war and sent through a wormhole in time to do 7-day tours of duty. Only 30% of those enlisted survive, and many of those who do are left with severed limbs and severe PTSD. When Dan's turn comes to be transferred to the future, he discovers that Murray is in charge of the military's research arm and has devised a plan to destroy the aliens, dubbed White Spikes, because to their ability to discharge lethal spikes in combat, by developing a toxin that disintegrates them. But, while there is still time to save humanity, the only way to do so is to prevent this apocalyptic battle from occurring in the first place. Soldiers that traveled back in time to recruit people from 2022 for the conflict declared that they required combatants to win the war and begin rebuilding society. However, Murray already knew that the war was lost at that point, and her aim was never to save the remnants of humanity in her homeworld. The true goal, and the true cause for which all of the drafted warriors were fighting, was merely to buy enough time to manufacture a toxin capable of killing the female White Spike, which could then be sent back in time to prevent the White Spikes from overrunning the world in the first place. Murray tells Dan that she and all the other people in 2051 are living on borrowed time, and that time has been heavily paid for in blood. Murray appears to be the only one who realizes this was the true plan, because the morale of the troops still living in 2051 would definitely suffer if they knew there was no hope for them other than having their chronology erased. However, the fighters recruited in the 2020s were never completely deceived. They were informed that they needed to battle to preserve their children and grandkids, and that their sacrifices would buy Murray enough time to make the toxin and send it back. In this way, she was able to save not only the few children and grandchildren who remained alive in her own timeline, but also the billions of people who had already been slaughtered, by erasing their terrible destiny and replacing it with a better one. In the original chronology of the Tomorrow War, the aliens appeared unexpectedly in northern Russia in 2048 and quickly spread over the globe, reducing the population to 500,000 people in 3 years. It was assumed that the White Spikes were highly advanced and intelligent, and that they had landed their ships on Earth so quietly that no satellites or radar systems could detect them. This, however, contradicts what we've seen of the White Spikes throughout the Tomorrow War. They don't employ weapons or technology, and they overpower humans via physical force and numbers rather than cunning and guile. This strange contradiction is explained when Dan and the rest of the squad finally uncover the White Spike's ship in Russia. The White Spikes are not an intelligent race, but rather biological weapons being transported as cargo by an alien civilization with greater intelligence and a slightly more humanoid experience. The aliens appear to be intergalactic colonists who used the White Spikes to clean out existing life forms on planets so that they may move on and create their own race. Unfortunately for these aliens, and humanity, they ended up crashing on Earth by accident. Martin, Seth Chenal, Dan's old volcano-obsessed student, reveals that the ash on the White Spike's claws comes from the 946 AD eruption of Pike II Mountain, known as the Millennium Eruption, which was powerful enough to throw ash as far as northern Russia. This suggests that the aliens crashed on Earth over 1,000 years ago, and the White Spikes have been dormant under the ice ever since. The White Spikes appeared as a result of climate change and the melting of the polar ice caps, which had uncovered the crashed ship in northern Russia by 2048. The White Spikes were being housed in advanced cryogenic containment, which had allowed them to live, unlike the aliens flying the spacecraft. But as the ice melted, they may have been disturbed by predators wandering into the ship, or by the ship itself changing. When some of the White Spikes are injected with the toxin and die, the cacophony of their deaths is enough to wake up the others, implying that something similar occurred in the original timeline. Dan erases the cataclysmic future from the chronology by arriving early at the White Spikes, destroying the colony on board the ship, and killing the Queen. The conclusion of the Tomorrow War introduces a classic time travel conundrum known as the grandfather paradox. The name is based on the example of a person traveling back in time to kill their own grandfather, which would prevent them from ever being born, thus preventing them from going back in time to commit the murder, which means their grandfather would survive, which means they would be born after all, and would be able to travel back in time to kill him, and so on. At first glance, it looks that the future recruits in the Tomorrow War are attempting to escape the grandfather paradox. Only those known to have died before the year 2051 are eligible to be enlisted into the war. While it is not expressly mentioned, it would make sense if they avoided enlisting people who were about to have another child in order to ensure that those children were born. However, the revelation of Murray's true goal, as well as Dan's alteration of the timeline, throws that out the window, creating a new predicament. The original series of events that led to soldiers being sent back to warn of the impending tragedy will no longer occur since the catastrophic chronology has been erased. Dan has erased the events that led to the conflict, as well as the circumstances that led to the development of the White Spike toxin and his own awareness of the extraterrestrial attack. The Tomorrow War sensibly avoids addressing this paradox or any of the other intricacies of theoretical travel, instead portraying Dan's preemptive defeat of the White Spikes as a simple victory. Still, it's a question that will linger with spectators long after the film has ended.